And then so you look at that, you look at the price of groceries, you look at the spread of measles, you look at a diarrhea disease, and all around the country, people are wondering, what is this president actually going to deliver?
I don't know that he's responsible for cyclospora.
I think that people want a government that works for them. And when you can't trust what's coming from your government, whether it comes from measles or when it comes from not taking shots, like you tell me, like RFK is doing.
Shots is causing the diarrhea disease?
Well, I think that is happening under President Trump. It's not happening under anyone else.
President Trump's poll numbers are continuing to slide. And according to CNN's latest discussion, even many Republicans are beginning to lose patience. The panel debates why the president is struggling on the very issues that help return him to the White House, especially the economy, inflation, and affordability. They also question why, with a war overseas and rising prices at home, the president appears more focused on social media battles than on the concerns many Americans say matter most. Republicans argue voters still don't trust Democrats enough to switch sides, while Democrats believe Trump's biggest political problems are entirely self-inflicted. Now, if you're new here, I'm Bradley Hostin, and this is The Bradley Hostin Show. If you enjoy honest political commentary, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stick around until the very end, because after we watch this clip, I'm going to explain why I think this debate exposes the biggest weakness of the Trump administration right now. As usual, let's watch the clip, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts afterwards.
Isaiah, the president losing it on social media is not exactly a new thing. But it also, I think, as the challenges that he's facing become more and more serious, it is an issue that the president can't seem to keep his head on straight when we're facing a war, an economy that's unstable, and his party is facing an election in November.
I think ultimately the reason why his numbers are so bad is because he's not focused on anything that anybody cares about. One of the most interesting parts of that poll shows that he's down 8 points specifically with Republican voters when it comes to his handling on the economy. I mean, they look around, they see the promises that he made. He said that we'd have $1 and something gas. That never happened. He said that we would have half off our energy bills within the first year of him being in office. That never happened. All these things that he promised has not happened. And so I think people across the country are looking to say, look, this president is not delivering. He hasn't fulfilled his promises, and they want to see something different. I see that's the reality.
Yeah, I mean, on Republicans, as you point out, only 34% in this Washington Post poll say that their financial situation is better now compared to January 2025 when Trump took office. 18% say they are not as well off. 48% say that they're about the same. Meanwhile, the president is using social media. I'm not sure if this is like a teenager or like he is an 80-year-old man. So maybe this is what elderly people are doing on the internet. But it's all these memes of him dealing with the Iran war, guardian of the world, all kinds of things. I mean, Lydia, what is he up? What is he doing?
He is prolific. You can give him that. Look, obviously, it's going to be up to the voters to decide in the midterms. I think that there's things he can point to, Trump accounts, Trump RX, but I think it's going to come down to gas prices as well, which have been coming down, and now we're going up a bit more than I think he would like to see. I think the interesting thing, though, is the incumbent is typically challenged as he heads into the midterms. But in this case, consider the alternative. And the Washington Post has been reporting what Trump voters are feeling, and they feel frustrated. But in the words of one gentleman, he said he's not going to vote for crazy-ass Democrats. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. People may have frustrations that they don't feel as affordability is as much of a focus, and yet consider the alternative. And some of the loudest voices in the Democratic Party now are pushing for the abolition of private property.
Can I just add to what Lydia? Can I just say something about what Lydia said, though, on the challenges? Because you said that this president is entering this midterm cycle with challenges, but a lot of these challenges are self-inflicted. I think when it comes, like he came in, he can take credit for, I think, bolstering the economy in maybe the first part of his opening year. But you look at inflation today. I mean, he was in Michigan, and before the war in Iran, gas was $2.90, and now today it is $4.22. And that is because of this war of choice. And then so you look at that, you look at the price of groceries, you look at the spread of measles, you look at a diarrhea disease, and all around the country, people are wondering, what is this president actually going to deliver.
I mean, I don't know that he's responsible for cyclists, Sarah.
I think that people want a government that works for them. And when you can't trust what's coming from your government, whether it comes from measles or when it comes from not taking shots, like you tell me, like
not
RFK
taking
is doing.
shots is causing the diarrhea disease?
Well, I think that is happening under President Trump. It's not happening under anyone else.
Well, look,
okay,
I think that what's obvious.
If you were really worried about disease, I mean, why weren't you worried about
very
millions of people crossing the border who didn't have any vaccine?
Well, that's not happening under Joe Biden.
Go ahead, Isaac.
But here's the thing. You made a statement about what's crazy. I think what's crazy is when you have the President of the United States acting like Abe Simpson, going and waving his fist at the cloud on social media and putting tariffs on countries like Canada that we have free trade with. Do you support the tariffs on Canada that have raised prices for people?
If we want to talk about his social media presence, it always has been.
Do you support the tariffs?
It's going to be up to voters to decide what they want to do with midterms.
The tariffs on Canada.
Why does it matter what I support?
Why does it matter?
It's up to voters in the midterms. But I'd say with the AI thing, it really triggers a lot of people, which I think, frankly, he likes to see.
You don't want to.
I think you're right. I think people do like to see that engagement. I don't know that it's
some people like to see him tweeting out a bunch of unhinged
the
AI
base
memes. Is that
likes this.
The base,
I think you're right.
But the real question is, again, when prices are up, why is it that this president went and engaged in more tariffs on Canada when we already know that it has significant price pressures? Why did he do that, Lydia?
Because it's self-inflicted.
Look, voters are going to have to decide if they think
You don't
he's
have an answer
doing
for
enough
that?
for
Why would he do
affordability.
that?
I'm not here to answer for
The answer
every
is that
single
there is no
policy that
reason.
he
That's what's
implements.
really crazy.
Okay.
I think that's what voters are going to react to.
It is also, I mean, it's a fair point that the reality of Trump's decision making in this moment is the root of the issue. He is lashing out at all sorts of people, reporters, he's tweeting out memes, but he refuses to stop doing the things like tariffs, like getting into a war that he promised Americans he wouldn't get into, that are causing some of the problems that he's dealing with right now.
I think that if the president was having this negative impact across the entire country, then Democrats would be doing a lot better as the opposition party.
We've won pretty much every special election
we're
there
doing
is.
pretty good.
We won
The current
Kentucky,
generic
we won in
ballots,
Louisiana. Trump's own state house district has been won by a Democrat. That's pretty successful, I would say.
According to the last Reuters poll, Democrats
I'm not talking about polls, I'm talking about election
I'm
results.
talking about polls because we're getting closer to the midterms.
We're talking about election results.
We're talking about the
Democrats
generic
are winning
congressional
those.
ballot, as my point was. If the president is so detrimental to everything, I should see the Democrats skyrocketing in all of the
He's
polls. and I'm
losing
not
almost
seeing it.
every special election there
we
is.
talked about this last week. The recent poll showed that Democrats have overtaken Republicans in terms of who Americans trust to deal with the economy.
Strangely,
That's
the Reuters
something
poll that I've got right here doesn't
is-
say that.
Look, not every poll is the same.
Well, then
That's why we should be
But
talking about election results.
But my
and-
point is, there are some polls showing that Trump is losing ground on key issues, especially on the economy, which is typically something that Republicans do well on. When you look at his approval rating on issues from the economy to Iran to trade to immigration, he's underwater on all of those issues.
So I should expect to see voters trusting Democrats over Republicans, and I'm not seeing that
You
yet.
are
I'm
seeing
not
that.
seeing
You
that.
are
winning
seeing
these
that in
special
polls.
elections.
Again, you're
Why
not
we won
seeing
in
these
Georgia,
things.
why
Hold
we
on,
won
you are-
in
hold
Texas,
on.
why we won in Kentucky, all across this country. Voters are choosing Democratic candidates in special elections. What are you talking about?
The president seems to be extremely fixated on this. I mean, you could argue maybe Democrats aren't paying enough attention. Well, Trump is focused. He talks about it virtually every day. He thinks it's the number one issue, curtailing mail-in voting, changing the way states conduct their elections. Why is that the number one issue to him and not actual policy issues that matter to voters, like the economy, like cost of living?
Well, I disagree with the framing of that. I think he is concerned about all of that, but I don't think you have to go back to 2018 or even 2020. I think you have to go back to June with what we saw in the LA mayor's race, where Spencer Pratt was leading, and then weeks after the election.
Oh, here they go again.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, let's
hold
see.
on, hold on a second.
You would have
Just
to
to
feel
be
about it.
clear,
Yes,
just to be clear,
absolutely.
She just asked about the economy.
I know there's a lot of polling going on, but that was a multi-way race in which Spencer Pratt was not leading.
Right.
He got cooked.
He was
Absolutely leading on
actually.
election
He lost.
night.
Hold on.
Absolutely
No.
leading
He
on
lost.
election
Let me just disabuse you of this notion. He was running against two liberals who each had a share of the vote that if you add them together were greater than his share of the vote. That is not leading.
I have a question.
That is not how this works.
How is it possible
Spencer
that
Pratt,
Florida
in that
is
same
able to
in that
go-
same state, the Republican who was on the ballot for governor proceeded to the runoff. So again, there is zero evidence.
Interesting how that works.
There is zero
But why
evidence
is
that
it-
anything went wrong. I can't even believe you would raise this. There's no evidence.
Why won't you bring a case to court?
Go back-
Why won't you
Race,
bring a case
okay?
to court then? If you
Listen,
think that
hey,
something
you
was
think
bad,
there's you brought
you
it
can
up.
go to court.
So first of all, I think
you brought it up, so you got
I
to
did
Will
bring
you
it
go
up,
to
and I
court?
would bring it up 100
offer
times more.
proof.
Why
Those
has
are
Spencer
wild claims.
Pratt
I just want to say,
not gone to court about this?
Florida is able to count 10 million ballots
Why
and
has
get those
Spencer
election results
Pratt
out the
not
same night.
gone to
Why
court
can't LA
about
and all
this?
these
You
other
say that
Democrat
this was
states do
shady.
it?
Why
There
did
is
you-
something
Hold on,
shady
hold on.
about it. There are a lot of questions that other people have.
Okay. So
did
I
he
think
go to
we.
court?
I think
All right.
elections should be so transparent. No one has any questions
Why did he not
about
go to
it.
court?
I do think-
he
But now
doesn't want to
there's-
answer that question. There's a reason for that, though.
I think-
If there
I
was
don't know
something
why
shady-
Spencer Pratt hasn't
because
gone
there
to
was
court
nothing
over it.
shady that was
Because
going on.
maybe he
That's why he
doubts
didn't
the
do
system.
it.
Maybe he thinks the legal system is
think-
broken. He won't get a fair
Oh,
trial.
that sounds like Pope, if you ask me.
All right, go ahead.
Never leave.
I think you're actually
was
illustrating.
Coke.
Emil, quick
I
last
I think
word.
you're
We gotta go.
illustrating the party's vulnerability here. To the extent you guys are talking about, we have to do something about all these ballots. The way that I would talk about that if I was a national Democratic leader is, why are they afraid of the American people? Why are they afraid of them casting their ballots? That is what ends up happening if Republicans keep talking about people voting in what has become a pretty conventional way as something potentially dangerous.
So let me give you guys my thoughts. The first thing that stood out to me was Isaiah Martin's point about broken promises. Whether you support President Trump or not, campaigns create expectations. If you promise lower gas prices, lower energy bills, and a stronger economy, people are naturally going to judge your presidency against those promises. That's just the reality of politics. The second thing that really caught my attention was the discussion about whether the administration's problems are self-inflicted. Several panelists argued that many of the issues hurting the president politically, from tariffs to the conflict with Iran, are decisions made by the White House itself. Supporters may argue those decisions were necessary, while critics believe they have made everyday life more expensive for ordinary Americans. Another interesting moment came when the conversation turned to social media. The panel questioned why, during a period of economic uncertainty and international conflict, so much attention appears to be directed toward online posts and political messaging instead of reassuring Americans about the issues affecting their daily lives. What I also found interesting was the disagreement over whether Democrats are actually benefiting from Trump's declining numbers. Some argued that dissatisfaction with the president doesn't automatically translate into enthusiasm for the opposition, while others pointed to recent special election results as evidence that political momentum may already be shifting. Ultimately, though, I think most voters will judge this administration the same way they judge every administration, by their own personal experience. If families feel financially secure, can afford their groceries, pay their bills without constantly worrying, and believe the country's moving in the right direction, they're more likely to reward the party in power. If they don't, history suggests they'll often vote for change. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you believe President Trump's current political challenges are mostly the result of circumstances beyond his control, or do you think they're largely the consequence of decisions made by his own administration? And if you're still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news commentaries. I'll see you guys in the next one.